Oh, hi guys. I think we're live now. I just had a sign to say that there was a poor internet connection. I'm Breslin, and I am the founder of the Harmonising Academy and the Harmonising Life Realignment Coaching Process. And in this little video today, what I hope to do is talk to you about heart-centered coach. No, we're not talking about heart-centered coaching. We're talking about living in the heart and what this really means. But before, God, it's amazing. How can I still be nervous? I've just seen a little like sign on the screen. It's incredible. I can't believe how nervous I get with Facebook Live. But anyway, it will one day, the nerves will absolutely disappear. Just before this, I was sitting and just getting myself centered. I'll just talk for a bit before some people arrive, because I said I would start at 1 o'clock. But yeah, I was just trying to get myself nice and centered before we start, because I have all this stuff to express, loads of stuff to share with you. And it's just about getting into a really good place where I detach from my mind. I've got a few notes here, but detach from my mind and just really start to share what living in the heart really, really means. This is one of the subjects that I cover hugely at the Harmonising Academy. It's part of our heart-centered life realignment process. And basically what it means is it's about moving your life fundamentally from a place of planning, structure, goal setting to make everything happen one day. So, whether you want to achieve a big financial goal, you want to achieve big business success, you want to have a bigger house, you want to have a better car, you want to have more stuff, you want to have new technologies as they come out. These are the kind of plans that we've been so used to and become so accustomed to striving for or creating in our lives. We live within this matrix of, and it's a linear matrix of, being born, going to school, getting an education. Once we've got our education, we go to college or we go to work, and then we begin to progress and we progress. And as we go through that process, and as we vision into the future using our minds, it is often the case that in the background or somewhere deep within your being, there is a part of you that is craving or calling for more. You might crave more time on your own. You might crave more space to explore new things, time to explore new things. You might crave creativity. You might crave meeting up with new people. Maybe, I remember thinking to myself, one day I'll read Penguin Classics, I'll actually get round to that, but it'll probably be once I've achieved everything I want to achieve. So to kind of reflect on my own story, because that's the only experience I've got, my life has changed fundamentally, completely. It's done 180 degrees turn in the last 4 years. And I've gone from someone who I believed I was living in the heart. I really did. I was running hi Lisa. I really believed, I was following my heart, following my purpose. And I was, I created this feminine empowerment portal. I wanted to share all the best trainers and teachers' work. I wanted to share it in this place. I believed I was on purpose. I believed that I was completely aligned. But what I was doing is I was living from what I now call an old paradigm mindset, which was, everything, my mantras behind the scenes or in my mind were, I'm going to create a business that makes me a lot of money. I will make millions. I remember I used to hang out with a lot of people in London who would say to me, you know, Breslin, you are made to make millions. And I'd think, yeah. I'm not great at business, but yeah, one day I'm going to make millions. I'm going to make millions. And I always had this sense of abundance. You know, I always had enough money and at times lots of money, which was lovely. But my mantra was inside my head, I'm going to make millions. I'm going to build a big business. This is going to turn into a big business. I didn't want a small business. I wanted a global business. I didn't want to have a local business. So I had this empowered mindset that meant that I really wanted to have everything that was bigger. I wanted to make my empowerment portal the best empowerment portal. So these kind of words, you know, big market, best product on the market. And there was an element of me, I was hugely competitive when I was at school. You know, I used to be really sporty and I always wanted to win the races and I was always up there in the top 3 in everything that I did. But I think ultimately in the business, I did get into cooperation more than competition, and I wanted to raise and lift and elevate other people more than I really wanted to push myself forward. But I thought, you know, I can use all these different people. We can build this big business and the world will know about my work, which was always the intention. So it wasn't really about me personally being known, but it was definitely about my work, and it was about sharing that with as many as possible. So the result of that kind of mindset meant that I was a perfectionist. Everything that I had to do, I needed it to be perfect. I wouldn't release anything unless it was perfect. In fact, I set up the Consciously Female brand, and I set it up in 2010, and I launched it in the middle. In fact, I just launched it just before the end of 2012. So it took me about 1.5 years before I got comfortable with launching and going live. And it was absolutely stunning. But what I tried to do is I tried to create this really big business, and I wanted it to be launched in its perfection rather than creating something small and just starting to build it. I also, you know, everything that I did in that project, everything was just about being big. Nothing was about starting organically and growing and developing really slowly. And you know, in retrospect, in hindsight, I recognise what I did back then. But the consequences of that mindset, the consequences of trying really hard to create something that was going to be really successful and make me a lot of money, was that I started to work like a dog. I would work from morning to night every day. And when I wasn't working, because it was a very creative project, and I think you've got to watch this with your creativity. If you're someone who is really creative, you know, your creativity can run away with you. It can kill you. Hi Debbie, hi Nicole, sorry you're coming on and I'm chatting. It can kill you. You know, it's if a project grows arms and legs and you try to control and develop that whole thing with every perfectionist bone in your body, before you know it, you will be exhausted, you will be overwhelmed. So I was building this thing, and you know, building it was exciting. It was, you know, so I think I'm on purpose. I've got this mindset that's saying I'm going to grow this big thing. And every day I'm working from morning to night. I'm connecting with Hay House authors. I'm connected with non-Hay House authors, the best names in the industry. I'm bringing all their work in, their articles. I'm bringing, you know, I'm really, you know, and I'm excited about what I'm doing. But it's a massive workload that I was carrying. And I was exhausted. So the reality is I would start first thing in the morning, you know, 8, 9 o'clock. I would finish at 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, I would talk to my partner all night about where the business was going, what was going to happen in the future, how we could develop it in the future. So everything was based on the future and future growth. And I'd sit in this office that I'm sitting in right now, and when I'd be sitting in here, sometimes I'd look out the window. I often look over here because I've got a gorgeous sea view when I look out the window. And I would think about things like poetry, and I'd think about being down on the beach. I'd think about being in my garden. But the way that I'd set my life up in my busyness was that there was no way of me actually connecting in to those aspirations. And these were the subtle aspirations and cravings of my heart. My heart wanted to explore poetry and to feel poetic. My heart wanted to relax and let go and to be present. My heart wanted to really, just be creative in my garden. My heart wanted space. My heart wanted time. But I was caught in this prison of busyness. And when I was writing the notes for this session, I was thinking quite deeply about, the cravings of the heart. When you crave poetry, when you crave creativity, when you crave time, you crave space, you crave presence, you crave calm, you crave beauty. If these things are calling you, they're calling you because they are part of your essence. They are who you are. When I talk about nature and I talk about the life force moving through a tree, moving through a flower, to really move it and help it express into its full potential, that life force moves through you. And I guess by tuning into our deepest thoughts, by listening to our intuitive hunches, by recognizing and becoming conscious of these whisperings and these cravings, what we're doing is we're tuning into the deepest part of ourselves. This isn't just a fancy. This isn't a part of you that is looking to escape. This is your I am presence. I am quite a poetic soul. It's my nature. I haven't expressed it in my life though, in a big way, because I'm always creating projects, or I'm looking at business models or workshops. I've traditionally looked at, how do you run a personal development workshop? This is how you do it. This is how I've learned. This is how I've learned from other people. What I am learning now and really beginning to understand is that if creativity, if poetry, if wonder, if presence, if these words that I'm using, and these are my words, if these words are within you and who you are, what we need to do is we need to find ways. I say what we need to do, possibly. And for me, what worked for me was trying to find new ways of doing my business as a full expression of who I am. So, on my story on Instagram, you can kind of see the behind the scenes, of my own life. And it goes through music during the day as my energy goes up and down. It's music, it's nature. You see how I am probably a living expression of these, now that I'm free, these desires of my heart. This morning, sitting in silence with a flickering candle and listening to the sea, in awe of nature, and just being philosophical about having time and space to be philosophical about nature and how is this impacting me and how can it enhance my life further. And I'm now expressing this stuff on Facebook and I'm expressing it on Instagram. And suddenly the I am presence, if you like, the essence of me, instead of becoming, me coming on and saying, here's 5 steps to do this or 3 steps to do whatever. That's how I used to teach. It's about how can I surrender and trust and drop into the deepest part of me and allow my work to become a real expression of every aspect of my essence. So in the deepest part of you, you will have words. In your quiet moments, there will be words that may inspire you. There might be an image that inspires you. And for so many of us, what we're doing is we numb out those words, those intuitive hunches, those random thoughts. There's the bell. That's probably the Amazon man. But we numb out these thoughts because we think, I don't have the time, I don't have the know-how, I would be far too frightened to experience something like that. I'm far too overwhelmed to have what it is that I really want. And we numb and we stuff down. And for many of us, it's the most beautiful aspect of who we really are. We tell ourselves, we can't have that right now. We can't be that right now. We can't do that right now. Because we're living within this fixed matrix, this fixed mindset of this is the way that I need to do business. This is the way that I need to live my life. This is how my life works. And we resign ourselves to the life that is at the moment. And, I think this happens to people who are really successful in business, in fact, even more so sometimes, when you're just overwhelmed with workload. And it can also happen to people who, I'm thinking of life coaches in particular. You're running, and I say that because that's one of the markets that I'm working with. You're running a business, but you're not mastering, or stepping into your, you're not stepping into your real power. Because you're trying to run a business or do things maybe in ways that other people are doing or running their businesses right now. But I think, for me, what I'm learning, and this is really new, guys, this is so new. I'm learning that by me becoming more of my I am presence, so me becoming more poetic, me becoming more creative, me becoming more present, this starts to spill over into my work, and it probably makes me more magnetically attractive. I don't know. Are you attracted? I'm going to just check some messages that are coming in. It really needs to be a constant daily reminder to connect within. It does. And it's challenging because I know that some people will, be watching this, and people who perhaps haven't gone into a big journey of self-discovery or consciousness, and they'll think there's no way I can jump out of the life that I am living right now to move into this way of thinking or being. That's what I used to think. Now, my situation was kind of different in that, I came into presence, and I'm so grateful now. I'm so grateful for the loss of everything that happened to me, because I burned out. I was, adrenally fatigued. I didn't have a future focus once I gave up my business and my relationship ended. And I actually did have a bit of a mindset still going on, because, every single thought that we think, as human beings, we're habitual beings. We just consistently think these thoughts over and over again. And I did start to think, what will happen in the future? What will happen in the future? What goals can I create in the future, until this one day. And I remember this day where I was out with a friend, and he said to me, I ordered a book online, and the book that he ordered was Danielle Laporte's Desire Map. He said, I really think it would be worth you looking at this book right now. So I looked at the book, and I couldn't believe, in the position that I was in my life at that time, which was, thinking about the future and thinking about, what I was going to do in the future at some point. I was handed this book, so it was this amazing moment. My friend Matthew gave it to me, and it was an amazing moment of serendipity where he handed me the book, and I remember opening this book up, and she was talking about living in the heart and moving our mindset from a place of future-based desires, mindset desires, into a place of presence. And the way that we could do this was by choosing 5 words that our soul was really calling for at this moment. So, 5 desires of the heart that you would love to feel each and every day. And I wrote down 5 words. I think I remember 4 of them. There was poetry, there was creativity, there was wonder, and there was probably peace and calm. And what she said is, begin to weave these words into your daily life as it is. So what would it feel like if you were to feel poetic, creative, peaceful, calm, can't remember, wondrous in your relationship? What would you have to do to make your relationship feel like that? So I sat down, I thought about my daily life, which was nothing really. How could I feel these 5 words? What would I need to do to feel them? And this is when I started to paint furniture, because I thought I wanted to be creative. Poetry, I started just reading poetry, more and more and more of it. I started to be more present and really focus on presence each and every day. I started to look at, my health and well-being and exercise. So in exercise, I wanted to be poetic, wondrous. I wanted to be creative, and my dance class, my 5 Rhythms dance class, was giving me all of these feelings. So I began to weave these feelings into every single part of my life. And what happened is this brought me into an amazing feeling of presence and connection and deep joy and deep satisfaction every single day. So someone who, when I think back to my life, when it was filled full up with planning and driving and striving and focusing constantly, and there was no space for the poetry, there was no space for the presence. If I'd taken that simple technique at that point and started to weave it into my life, I would begin to connect with the joy and the presence in my heart. I would have started to feel the feelings, not do what was right, but feel the feelings that I really, really wanted to feel now. I'm going to just have a look at my screen again. Sorry, I've got to do this with my glasses. Nikki Harvey, I'm so with you. Last week I was so sure on how I was going to be starting my new business, and then this week my body broke down, so I surrendered. Have been listening and now understand. I can't see the rest of that, but I'll come to it. Yeah, so that brings me, Nikki, on to surrender, because and it's a simple analogy. You go back to the trees growing, and you go back to the flowers growing, and this life force just moving through nature to grow it, to guide it to where it's going to go, or where it's destined to go. As human beings, we have this blueprint, in your I am essence, the things that are in your heart, the parts of you that you really want to express in your life. They are designed to move through you. They are destined to move through you. But if your life is absolutely packed full of busyness and plans and structure, there is no way for your current model to move, to allow this essence to move through you. Part of my whole process, I remember a few months into the process of burning out and not knowing where the money was going to come from and how I was going to survive. A few months into that, I realised that there was just always enough money every month, and it became a pattern, and I thought, you know, I am being guided. This energy, this life force that grows the flowers and grows the trees is moving through me. It guides me, or it guides my life. It brings opportunities towards me. I remember a client coming to me and just paying me £2,000 for a session. And she said, you know, if I could just see you even once a month, that would be amazing. And I need to pay you up front. And I was like, this is really bizarre. At that point, I didn't take upfront payments. And, you know, I thought, why did she do that? But that, you know, gave me so much breathing space for months. And things just came onto my path. And I think when we begin to connect into our essence, when we make a commitment to be who we were designed to be, when we begin to express fully who we are and find ways to express ourselves in our work, and when we begin to trust and surrender to this energy working with us, miracles happen. They happen every day in my life now. You know, I'm now on the heart-centered path, you know, and I'm building a business and it's growing. And I think at the start of this week, well, I've had my stepdad had a heart attack this week. At the start of the week, I was starting to feel really worried about how I was going to cope with social media, live streaming, people connecting with me, and how I was going to stay in a place of presence. So I just let it all go and I handed it all over. And I thought, just trust it, Dawn. Everything up to now you have trusted, and everything is coming into fruition and it's flowing. Every time I push and get frenzied or get frightened, or if other people come into my orbit and they're behaving that way, I lose the trust. And when I lose the trust, the panic sets in. I start to wonder about what's going to happen. I disconnect from myself. I go into my head. Anxiety, stress, fear, all of that stuff comes up. When I reconnect with the deepest part of me, when I let go and I trust that I'm on this path, it's been unfolding for 4 years now, and you have no idea the miracles that, you know, have happened on the journey and that are in the bag in the background that are going to be unfolding. It's kind of incredible. It's almost like you get in this car and you express, you be who you are, but you let go the steering wheel on some level. It's like when I come on to this, you know, when, and this is really honest, because you guys, you know, I'm looking at you, Lisa, I'm looking at you, Nikki, you know, when you come on to Facebook live stream, you can sit here with your notes and you can try to go through stuff. But if you can relax deeply enough, then the deepest part of you, beyond fear, expectation, you know, the planned agenda, if you can let that go, then the deepest part of you, the divine essence, the beauty of who you are can express itself really fully. The expression of your heart, the expression of your soul. And so the lesson for me is, you know, in moving into the heart, you know, a big part is trusting. And I'm lucky, I've got 4 years experience of letting go and knowing that, you know, when I step into the trust, things will unfold perfectly. Sometimes they'll go in a direction I didn't even expect them to go in. But I've got to keep listening, and it's a practice, like you're saying, Lisa, it's a practice of listening really deeply. What is calling you? You know, what does your heart desire? What would you love to do? How would you love your life to be? And I wonder then, you know, if you kind of, you know, using the Danielle Laporte method, she's using five words, but even if you create a vision board, you actually begin to imagine that there is a possibility in creating that aspect of your life. I think what it does is it activates something so deep within you that a saying yes or a being willing activates the universal response to help guide you and raise the path up towards you for you to walk into the direction that your heart and soul knows, or that you're longing for. So this is calling forward, I guess, the deepest part of ourselves. The part of us that knows, we are abundant, the part of us that knows we are deeply creative, the part of us that knows we are here to serve others, the part of us that knows we are so lovable, the part of us that knows, that life is to be hugely enjoyed. The part beyond our exhaustion, the part beyond the fear, the part beyond the overwhelm, the part beyond the mind. And I was thinking about it before I came onto this live stream. I was thinking, if the voice, or again, going back to nature, the trees and the flowers, and this energy and this essence moving through it, and if you imagine your intuitive calling, or the part of you that is just, deeply knows that this is, one recognizes the calling of it, and the other part is saying, this is you, this is you. I really believe that if that is what you are hearing, that is what you are sensing, that is part of you. And what you or I need to work with is getting beyond the how am I going to do it, when's it going to happen, how much money is it going to make, and we've got to detach from all of that, and we've got to get into a place of surrender and forget outcomes. I'm thinking particularly with business here, or maybe even dating, things like that as well. It's like, you're lovable, that you deserve to be in a relationship, you deserve to move forward in your life. And we've got to get into this place where we just take one baby step. One, say yes, and then take a baby step towards it and let go the outcome. I think we've got to get so used to, I said it in other live streams, we've got to get used to fear of rejection. What if they don't like me? What if I'm not good enough? What if, I'm being coached at the minute by Ingrid Arna. So she is, her vibration is absolutely incredible. She is so on spirit and in her divine essence right now that I was just so called. I know you are too, Lisa. I was so called to work with her. And I was called to work with her because I thought, all you're doing, girl, is you're expressing fully who you are. And at times, sorry Ingrid, but there was at times I just didn't want to hear the stuff about money mindset and, stepping up and some of her messaging. I didn't want to hear it, but I just saw this alignment. And I thought, I want to step into the fullest alignment of me. I want to come onto live streams without notes and just express from my heart. And what's happened is just by having, it's really interesting because I haven't even had a coaching session with her yet, but just by being connected to this vibration, this energy, it's shifting my energy. It's moving me. It's bringing me into alignment. And, I'm calling you. If this resonates, this is about, it's resonating and it will call you into alignment. What is your state of natural, if you really feel into it, where is your natural state of flow? What is your natural expression? What does your heart know you can do? Go beyond the understanding of how this is going to happen. What can I do to make it happen? How will the future look? How will it build as a business? It's about taking a baby step towards just simply being the fullest expression of who you are. And I think even by choosing these 5 words and creating vision boards of the way you would love your life to be, I think that's a really positive step forward to beginning the process. You know, life is full of beginnings and endings. Some things work, some things don't. I can't tell you how many things haven't worked for me, but I don't care. I really don't care when they don't work out. I don't care. It was difficult to give up the business. Ultimately, where I'm at now, I'm so glad I gave up the business. But I think we need to cultivate the courage to let go what isn't working for us and find the confidence, you know, which is all what the harmonizing process is about. Finding the confidence to take the baby steps forward into being ourselves wholly and completely. Living our truth, living our natural essence, being the expression of who you really are. Okay, there's another little comment here. It's so interesting why we go through these moments of not trusting, because my experience too is that when I trust, I surrender, things work out. My deepest pain comes from not trusting. Lisa, I hear this over and over and over again in my one-to-one practices. When I actually question people, it's the same thing. When I trust, things come to me. When I don't trust, everything goes haywire. You know, I get hunches when I go to work with people, when I go to take on a project. I'll say to Marcus, I'll say, you know, it doesn't feel right. Or I'll say, gosh, it feels really right. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't work out. And when it feels really right and I go with it, sometimes it takes time, because things don't always happen in perfect timing. Sometimes things take longer than we expect, but what are you racing for? Imagine if you could build a life where you do what you love, and you find the courage to trial new things, doing them in new ways. Some are going to work out and some aren't. You know, I keep going back to Facebook live stream because this is such a new thing for me. And what I know is that, you know, I know it's working for me. I know that I'm engaging with people. I know that people are starting to really understand more of what I do through this process. But it's been scary talking about some of this stuff. You know, some of it, there's this deepest level of change happening within me at the moment, where I'm almost, it feels like the word that just came up is the grid of how I did things in my life before is just evaporating. And I'm moving into a place where my soul is simply finding ways to express itself every day. You know, the ways that I would teach and the ways that I'm doing live stream are, you know, night and day. And I'm just feeling into it all the time. It's like, yeah, that works. Oh, that doesn't work. That feels good. Oh, this doesn't feel good. And sometimes when it doesn't feel good, I go, oh, how am I going to do this? And then what I'll do is I'll switch on to Facebook and I'll see someone live stream and I'll think, that's how. Actually, it's Ingrid, you know, watching her live stream, because I just see her going into free flow. And I'm hearing the story of ascension. I'm hearing the story of divine realignment, expressing ourselves fully. And as I'm listening to her, I'm feeling it in myself. It's like, yeah. This is me. This is how I feel. So I'm looking for resonance. And what's amazing is everything that I'm doing when I look for the answers of how am I going to make this work, things are popping up. You know, I'm moving on to a completely different subject here, but you know, it just feels like the effort that in the place that I'm in now, in this surrendered place, the effort that I used to make with life. So I've got a coaching workbook that I need to complete, but you know, my mum's partner's had a heart attack and work just stopped for 2 days, and the deepest part of me is just like, it's cool, you'll get it done, it'll happen. And then Marcus said to me, why don't we just work on it this weekend? I'll do all your typesetting and organising, and if you prepare the notes on Friday. It's like, oh, answer, solution comes up. Instead of going into this place of stress and fear and thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? It's just moving day by day into this curiosity and trusting and knowing that it'll all be okay. But I think the big thing for me is there's no time frame now. There's no, no thought of, I need this to work by, I need to get it all to work out, within the next 6 months or the next 12 months. Because there's no big goals that are driving me anymore. I've surrendered to the unfolding of my life. I've surrendered to, this project going out into the world as it was intended to be. I've surrendered to me not actually knowing, the structure of how it will unfold. And it's a step-by-step, day-by-day process where the path arises, from my place of presence, from my place of desire, my place of where I am. The next step is revealed instead of me working it all out. And I think sometimes when we're caught up in busy lives and we think, there's absolutely no way I can change this life. I think when we connect into the idea and we open up to the willingness that we would really like things to change, and we begin to really gently integrate maybe these 5 words, the desires of our heart, into our current life model, I think in that place the activation begins and serendipity, intuitive knowing will come towards us. And I would say make one of those words presence, quietness, stillness. Because in the presence, the quietness and the stillness, the answers come. Taking ourselves into nature, doing whatever it is that stills your mind enough where there's no one talking, there's no one spinning your energy out, there's only you. And you've got to go into that space for a long enough period of time, maybe with the intentions of asking, what would these words be for me? What are the deepest cravings of my heart right now? What does my soul really want? Where do I need to be guided? And just listen and be willing to just keep watching. Facebook and social media is amazing for presenting us. Once we work out what it is we're interested in, do a few searches and suddenly people and opportunities and experiences just start to show up, They start to show up. But then you've got to trust that. You've got to trust it and you've got to take a step towards it. Downstairs, every day I look at my pictures. I have a vision board downstairs that's a really current one of where I am right now. I have my 5 words. One of my words right now is about being seen, and it was quite scary after a long time of being off the map, coming back and being seen on places like this. And I look at these words and I look at these pictures. They focus me. They're part of the harmonizing process. They focus me every day to remind me, because if you don't, like you were saying, Lisa, if you don't remember every day, the habitual patterns click back into place and you forget. So I have, a visual pictorial vision board downstairs next to my kettle, and next to it I have intentions. I have the things in my life that I'm pulling towards me, that I'm attracting towards me, and I keep my intention on that. And boy, do they come through. Sometimes they don't come through in an instant, but they come through. So we've got to get into habits of keeping our focus on the things, those quiet callings, the quiet calling, the craving, the deepest desires of the heart, and the knowing of who you really are. The knowing of who you really are, it needs to find a way to express itself. And if you're not expressing it, you'll feel frustrated, you'll feel depressed, you'll feel off track, out of alignment. You know, life will just, it won't have that depth, it won't have that grounded feeling, it won't have that you won't feel that connection, and suddenly you just feel like you're doing life, and doing life's hard. It's hard when all the curveballs come in and things are tough, when you're in a fragile place already because you're doing what the mind's telling you, and the deepest part of you is calling you into whatever it is that is calling into you. I'm going to come back with my glasses again. Or maybe one day I'll need contact lenses. So God bless you, Dawn. I really hear you and recognise your immense courage and sharing and being in a new way. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thank you so much. And it's your time too. My gosh, it's your time to rise. You know, we've been on this burnout journey together, and the re-emerging together. I just wonder, you know, how many people out there, Nikki Harvey, if you're still listening, you know, it's like there are people out there with incredible potential, you know, huge potential, but somehow they're getting stuck coming through the funnel, you know, they can't get to the full expression, something's stopping them, and the frustration that comes up is absolutely huge. So we've got to find ways to trust ourselves, to tune into ourselves. Hello, Karen Mason. We've got to find ways to just really listen. You know, when you have those deep feelings that you wish life could be different, that's not a flight of fancy. That's real. That's the deepest part of you that's saying, listen to me. There's something more that I need. There's something more that I need to express, experience. And if your current matrix, your current model of life doesn't fit with those deep desires and yearnings, then some realignment needs to happen. Yeah. So I think that's it for me for today. Look at how relaxed I am by the end of the live stream. Okay, that was really not attractive. Anyway, I'm going to finish there, and I'll finish up just by talking very briefly. I've got a couple of things. If you haven't signed up for Breathing Space, I send it out once a week. You can get it at harmonizing.com, and basically it's tips for coming into balance. It's about balancing and just finding more presence in your daily life. So it's about building routines and rituals in so that you can sustain yourself, so that we can sustain your energy. And the other thing is the Harmonizing Academy. I am running my first Harmonizing Life Realignment Coach Training Program on the 19th of September. It's a one-off offer. We've got a 50% offer deal on this first one, just really because it's the first one. It starts on the 19th. If you are interested in joining me, I'd love to hear from you because we still have a couple of spaces left. So that's it for me for now. I will be back on, I think I'm going to be back on Monday. So I'll keep you well and truly informed, and I'll see you again, guys. Thank you for listening and being with me. Lisa, Karen, Nikki, Debbie, lots and lots of love. See you again soon. I love those love hearts. Okay, see you soon, guys. Bye.